something that would be really good for people to hear from you is any advice that you have for new photographers, because you've been doing this for a handful of years now. You know your way around a camera really well. What could you tell other people to help them kind of either get started or to get over the hump creatively?
For sure. I think there was a video I watched a few years ago that I thought was really insightful. Where when you first start a hobby, you know that you're at the bottom when you very first start and you're just learning about it. And then you get to this point where you've like created your first few things that you're proud of. Like photography specifically, you've created your first few images that you're really excited about and proud of. And you feel like you know everything and like you're the best photographer in the world. And then you continue to learn more about it and you realize how much you don't know, and you kind of come off that high and you almost crash and burn a little bit, and you realize like, oh, like I've got a lot of growth to do and this takes like time and it's hard and I don't know if this is for me. And I definitely remember going through that period and just kind of like feeling burnt out. And since then, it's just kind of been like a slow climb back uphill. And I still obviously wouldn't say that I'm like the expert at photography. You should all come to me and talk to me about photography and I'll teach you everything I know. But like I definitely know more than I did when I started. And it's like you said, I know my way around a camera. I know how to use it. If there's a way that I want to capture an image, I know that I can do it if I put the time into it. And it's just something where the more I learn about it, the more passionate I get about it. And I'm like on my way back up that hill of learning and feeling confident in myself about photography. So yeah, I guess that advice that I would give is just once you get over that first hump of feeling super confident and you kind of plummet and crash, just keep pushing and you'll work yourself back up that hill. And yeah, I mean, eventually you'll just be confident in what you're doing again and excited about it.
Yeah, that's a something an experience that everyone goes through too. Like it's not like it's just you. Like so many people have that same exact experience, and I think like for me, one of the things that helps me at least get through that, and honestly, I don't necessarily feel bad about that anymore. But I think that's largely because I've surrounded myself with so many other photographers, and especially the ones that are really, really good. Like there's at least a handful of people I can name off the top of my head that when I see their work, when I think about what they do, like I know they're better than me. And like I see their work, I'm like, dang, that's really good. I want to try to do that. And so it's almost like inspiration instead of something that brings you down, which I think is probably the right way to look at that situation when it comes
100%.
up. Because there's no reason to get down about not being the best if you've just started, or even if you're halfway through your journey in photography. It's like the whole goal is for you to get better. It's not to compete with other people. It's to compete with yourself. And as long as you can get better every day, you should be happy with that.
100%. I think that's totally true. There's this thing that we would teach people on the mission. There's a difference between guilt and shame. And that difference is what you choose to do with it. Guilt is knowing that you've done something wrong and feeling like you're the worst because of it. And shame is knowing you've done something wrong and deciding to change because of it. And I mean, you're not going to feel guilty because you're bad at photography, but it's kind of the same thing where you realize that there's room for improvement and you can either feel bad about that and mope about it, or you can choose to improve.
Yeah, I mean, even all the best photographers out there are going to say that they have room to improve too. So there's no reason to expect or to even think that you, who might have just started or are at the beginning of your journey, have arrived. Like you're always going to have more room to improve. More techniques you can learn, how to figure out editing at a deeper level. Like there's so much you can do with that, but it's just about that continual progress every single day. And maybe it's something like what you're talking about, like switch to film for a bit,
Oh, yeah.
totally change it up. Cause like that's something that I went through last year. I was just in a creative funk. I wasn't liking half of what I was taking. And for the most part back then I was shooting on my 24 to 70. And I decided, you know what? I'm getting rid of this. And I sold my 24-70. I wouldn't recommend this financially, but I sold my 24-70 and I picked up a 50 millimeter prime lens. And ever since that day, I have had so much more creativity. I just felt like rejuvenated in a way. And you can look to do something like that. Again, not that I'm going to recommend selling all your gear and buying expensive lenses, but it's just a way that you can actually like kind of get a restart in a way and freshen things up.
Definitely. I 100% agree with that. I think that's definitely one of the reasons I've been getting into film lately, is just because I've kind of felt that digital has gotten a little slow for me, at least for the moment. And so film is just a way to kind of shake things up, make it even more of a challenge. And and I think that's kind of reinvigorated my excitement for photography. So I think that's 100% true.
Let's dive into this just a little bit
Okay.
if we can. So you said your digital work is getting a little slow for you.
Mm-hmm.
What about it do you not like right now?
That's a good question. I feel like, I don't know. I just got to a point where I almost felt like every photo that I was taking was the same. Like, I would get out and I would take these photos and I'd come back home and I'd start editing them, and it was like the same as my last photos. I would edit them the same. They're pictures of the same kinds of things, and I don't know. It was just getting a little stale for me, and I just needed something to shake it up. I needed something new.